So I've always been a bit of an Apple fanboy because I couldn't really afford their products when I started out in tech. But now that I actually have them, I realized I never really made any macOS or iOS apps. And I always quite liked that native feeling of those apps. So I thought, why not just learn a bit of Swift and make some apps just for the fun of it. So today, before my main job, I'm gonna try and at least set up my dev environment and maybe learn a thing or two about Swift. Okay, so I found this X-based project on GitHub, and from what I can see, it should allow me to replace Xcode almost entirely, which would mean that I can just use my neovim to write Swift code and execute it on my machine, which sounds absolutely wonderful. So I'm gonna try and set this up. Okay, so this turned out to be a little bit more difficult than I had anticipated because I had to go into the source code of Xbase and fix a couple of bugs because I just couldn't get this to compile and run on Mac OS. However, that has been resolved, so now we're good and we have Xbase up and running. I also switched out my Tabline plugin for Feline because it turns out that Xbase has inbuilt Feline provider support, meaning that now we can actually add our build status to our Tabline, so that's pretty cool. And I had to add SourceKit for my Swift LSP. But after going through all of that trouble, I'm actually able to go into my Swift file. And even though I know zero Swift, I managed to get this up and running, which is pretty cool. But if I do leader R at this point, I should be able to choose what I'm running. And if I go into my iTimer app, which is the most generic name ever, I know, forgive me. But if I run it in debug, we should now have our app up and running. And now it is time to speedrun some Swift tutorials on 2 times speed before the next daily.
Hey Google, sweet dreams.